Hello and welcome to the Book Refuge. Today we are taking on the no disclaimers book tag. I'm feeling a little ranty after reading a book that I didn't like so much, which shall remain nameless, West. So I decided to find a tag that allowed me to keep ranting a little bit because I need to. So anyway, I've seen this on a few different booktubers channels. I'll link a couple of them down below, but mostly like I said, I was looking for one where I could rant. So yeah, let's start the no disclaimers book tag. Number 1 is, which trope annoys you the most? So of course this was super hard for me to come up with one when I want to pick one up, but I decided to go with the trope of the guy or the girl who can't get too close to someone. And I mean in a really specific way. Like, I mean, it's the excuse that keeps them from like being in a relationship with someone. Not that keeps them from kissing or flirting or feeling attracted, but when it comes to that place of commitment, they're like, I'm just unlovable and you shouldn't waste your time with me, even though the person has already like fallen for you, and then you pull it out of like, this isn't going to be serious. I'm just not a huge fan of that trope. Like with anything, I believe that tropes are tropes for a reason and that they can be done well. So I have seen this done well in some ways, but usually it's just an excuse for the guy or the girl to abuse their partner for no reason, if you know what I mean, like emotionally drag them along with no hope of commitment kind of thing. So not a huge fan of that. Number 2, which writer do you feel is overhyped? So first I have something to say about this, because of course no one wants to hurt anyone's favorite author, and I don't have a problem with doing that. What I actually had a problem finding is that I usually will think an author is overhyped, and I will be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sick of hearing about them. Oh my God, they're so overhyped. And then I'll read one of their books and I will love them. Like, I used to think Sarah J. Maas was overhyped, but I think she deserves it. I used to think Diana Gabaldon was overhyped. Forgive me, Lord. But she's amazing. I used to think Leigh Bardugo was overhyped, and I love her. I used to think Jay Kristoff was overhyped, and he's my favorite. So it was hard to pick someone. And so I'll say who I'm saying with the caveat that I'm willing to change my mind. But with this author, I've read 4 of their books, and I only really liked one of them. And so I'm just going to pick them. But I do kind of like them. I'm just trying to pick someone who's overhyped. So I'm picking John Green, and 2 reasons that I'm picking him. 1, like I said, I've read 4 out of his books and I've really only liked 1. And the other reason is he's one of those guys that they went through a string of like making his movies. I think they're still going to be making a couple more. And I just get sick of that, where like, because one book was maybe suited well to a movie, the industry thinks that, oh my God, we're going to make all of these movies, even though they're not all like suited to be movies, if that makes sense. Number 3, what are your least favorite books you've read since joining Booktube? So the first one I don't own anymore. That is Ace of Shades. To be fair to this book, I think I read it a little too soon after reading the Six of Crows duology, because it was a lot like that. Is Blood Will Out. I have a rant review for this book. Did not like this one. Just read that a couple months ago. I just thought that the main character was unlikable. I thought that it had a good premise, but it was carried out very poorly. And I think that the whodunit in the end was impossible to predict, and therefore it was a trickery, and I'm not a fan of being tricked. I think it's funny too that it says no disclaimers book tag, and literally for like every one of these I've tried to make an excuse already. So maybe I should stop making excuses. Number 4, a terrible ending that ruined a quality book. the end of the Queen of the Tearling trilogy. So I loved book 1 and 2 in the series. I thought it had such a unique spin on this kind of trope. I thought the world was really exciting. The characters were gritty and a little bit unlikable, but that made them likable to me. And then, okay, I'm gonna do a spoiler for this. Ready? And it was all like a dream in the end. And I hate that. That's a trope, I should have said. I hate when it's all a dream. So to me, I really, really dislike how the author ended this trilogy that I was so into, and it broke my heart. Number 5, which fictional characters do you wish were not killed off? Be a spoiler for Six of Crows. If you have not read, well, for Crooked Kingdom, but for the Six of Crows duology, when I put the book down, you can come back. Okay, so look for that. I will never get over Matthias. When King of Scars comes out and it has Nina in it, I don't know how we move on from that. I just won't get over it. I love Matthias. I love the changes he made. And she stabbed me in the heart. It hurt so much. It hurt. So won't get over that. I tried to stay away from, I stayed away from Harry Potter for this. I tried to pick other characters. So this other one, I'll put up a picture of the book because I don't want to go get it. It's in my other library area. This is a spoiler for the Poldark series, which I don't know who wants to read it. I love that series. You'll know I've had a Poldark book in pretty much every wrap up I've done so far that I've been on Booktube, which is cool. So I'm going to do the spoiler now. So go away if you don't want to know. Francis Poldark dies in the 4th book, and it hurts so bad. And it's one of those two where you don't even realize how much it hurts until later, because you see all the things that are slowly falling apart, and you know that it's because this person died and you didn't realize how important to you they were until they were gone. And then you just look back at them and you're like, why didn't we love you enough when we had you? My heart is broken. And I can't share that pain with like anyone because nobody reads those books. Maybe you've watched the TV show because it also happens in there, but my heart, guys. Number 6, what are your bookish pet peeves? This was really easy for me to come up with. 2 things. 1, I hate at the end of the book when there's a bunch of extra blank pages because it feels wasteful to me. And I'm like, what are these for? I mean, they never happen to be in my favorite books because, you know, it would be cool if in my favorite books there was like space for notes so that you don't have to like write the notes in the book if you're someone, which I don't mind writing notes in my books, but it's a pet peeve of me when there's like 4 to 10 pages of just blank space at the back of a book. Like there just was at the end of East. The new copy of East has all these blank pages and I'm like, what a waste. It's such a waste. And then the other one is I totally don't mind lending my books out. I have been a lender out of books since I was in high school, but I really, really hate it when people don't take care of my books. I don't mind if they bend pages because like that doesn't piss me off, but it does bother me like if you're throwing the book like in your book bag and not being careful with it, or it comes back with like bent edges that weren't there. One of my friends, their dog literally like bit the corner of it. And I was just like, can you just like buy me a new copy if that happens? Like, I mean, I love you. Obviously, I let you borrow my book. But if your dog takes a bite out of my book, buy me a new copy. Like, it's just respectful. Like, come on. So that bothers me, not taking care of books that you borrow out to people. Number 7, what are some books that should have more recognition? This is my favorite, and especially after just reading the sequel and seeing how like bad that was, I have so much appreciation for East by Edith Pateau. It is my favorite novel of all time. I feel like I've said that so many times in the last couple months because it's been building up to this new one and then I didn't like it, which is sad. But I love that book. It is so well put together. The story is so fun. Rose is so fierce and brave and wonderful. And she makes my heart so happy. And I mean, I just feel like it doesn't get enough recognition. I know it's older, so like that's a reason why, but I love it so much. Another book, this is also older. It's like 20 years old now, but it was one of my favorite books I read this year, and that is Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. This is a Christian historical fiction. It's a love story about this girl named Angel, who's a prostitute, and the man who marries her. His name is Hosea, Matthew Hosea, and he is Michael Hosea. Wow, I totally said his name wrong. Sorry, there's a Matthew in this book. Michael Hosea, who marries her, and it is such a good love story. I cried so much when I read it. So if you are a romance, like if romance is your jam, you should totally read this book because it's so beautiful. Like, it hurts me to think about it. So then finally, what are your thoughts on censorship? So I made a note on this because I'm against censorship, as in keeping people from having books be written. I don't believe that if your story is good or you're able to self-publish it, or you know, I don't believe that things should be banned in any place. That just shouldn't be. Everyone's voice is important. Everything you have to say should be respected. The stories you write, if there's I believe that like if something doesn't have an audience, then it won't get read. But if it is something that there's an audience for and specifically being censored, like that's stupid. However, I saw some people saying that as the same thing of like keeping people from reading certain books. And by that, I mean, I think there should still be like age limits on books, or like suggestions, just like with movies. Like there's a suggestion that, hey, this is rated R. Maybe your parents should check it out first to see if it's allowed for you. To me, that's not the same as censorship. Like that's just having like an age limit for things. Like you need to be 16 to be able to drive. It doesn't mean you're never going to be allowed to drive or you're never allowed to read this book. It just means maybe this isn't time for you yet. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just don't think I don't think you should be forbidden from ever reading a book. But I do believe there are purposes behind age limits and things. Yeah, so that's like how I feel about that. But in general, censorship at all, I don't agree with. I don't think anyone should be kept from reading anything that they want to when they are of age, free, legal adult. You should be able to read whatever you want, just like you're allowed to do anything else you want. So anyway, thank you for joining me for my no disclaimers book tag. I do feel better. It felt good to vent a little bit out, let the things go, and now I can get back to my regularly scheduled happiness. But thank you so much for stopping by. I had a wonderful time with this tag. I make new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on anything. Have a wonderful day, friends. Bye.